Bodo and Kevin and Tag Marshall, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I will let you all take it from here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I see there's another familiar face here, our GM, Joey Walters, looking very comfortable, settling in. Joey, how are you? Oh, he's on mute. Okay, Joey was at your event on Monday, so some of you would have met him. He loves coming down to Florida, and that's a true story. All right, Kevin, thank you for making time for us. And what I would love to do is just give you the stage for an introduction on your two amazing properties and of course yourself.
Okay. Well, again, they've already stated that I'm the owner operator of Legacy and Serenoa Golf Club here in Florida. One is in Sarasota, one's in Lakewood Ranch. One's a high-end facility, one's a mid-end facility. So two different golf courses. One is 7 miles around from start to finish, starting at the clubhouse that you see in your photo right there, the big one. The other one is a little bit smaller, but still weaves in and out throughout houses and that of sorts. I play, just to kind of give you an idea of the number of rounds that we play so that you understand where we're coming from when I'm talking a little bit later and as we go on, is that at Serenoa, I play 67,000 rounds a year. It's only an 18-hole facility. And at Legacy, I play right at 63,000 rounds a year. Again, it's not as seasonal as it used to be, but however, Serenoa, the bulk of that is in that seasonal period, and Legacy is seasonal to an extent, but then now where we're used to drop to say, let's just say we were doing 100 rounds a day in the summer, we're still in that 170 now a day in the summer. So it's, even though we start to drop, it when I say we're only at 170, I say that is because we push the 275, 280. Serenoa plays on average in the season right at 290 a day. This year was our largest day we ever had, and we pushed 330 through on one day. So it's crucial for our business to have Tag Marshall in what we do.
Thanks, Kevin. So you said you play 68,000 rounds at Serenoa, and I'm thinking, how does he have time to play 68,000 rounds? No,
That's right. No, it's right.
You are also very involved and much respected in the North Florida section. Everyone knows you, and recently were inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's not 3 days ago, so congrats on that. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you very much. Yeah, that was awesome.
Tell us about your role with the section just briefly.
Sure. I am the North Florida section president. I did have my term was supposed to come to the end here. My 2 years was up. The board had decided we had such good momentum in what we were doing that they did vote me in for one more year. They made a little change there and snuck out another year. So that's my role there.
Brilliant. So yeah, great. You've certainly been around the block and know your way around, and we're delighted to have you on. So a brief introduction for those of you who don't know Tag Marshall. We are an on-course optimization system. We help golf courses manage anything to do with golf traffic and things that happen out on the course. As you can hear, I am not from Florida. I'm a German born and raised. But delighted to have Joey on with us. He's our GM at our Atlanta office. So we operate from there. We're very fortunate at this point having grown and adding value to close to 500 courses. And Kevin's clubs are certainly household names in Florida. We're also very fortunate in working with 35 of the top 100 in the US. So that includes your Winged Foot, your Baltusrol, Pebble Beach, what have you. So that's both high-end private and high-end resort. But the majority of our clubs are really middle of the road. And the beauty for us is that we get to learn from some amazing managers and amazing teams and what's important to them. and then build that back into our system and then share it with the broader industry. So our goal is to go and change this industry and help make it better. And it's obviously great to start right at the top, because we can all learn a lot from standard operators like they have at Wisting Straits or Oakmont, for instance. We also get to work with the tours, so European tour, very successful with our system. Also the RNA, the USGA, we help them where we can with data and research. The RNA this weekend uses our setup for their World Amateur Champs, for instance. So yeah, we're just, and obviously I've been partners with the North Florida section for quite a while. I was looking to grow the game that we all love and came to do better. Okay, so Kevin,
Okay.
what are the challenges currently facing the industry, and what are the sort of things that you discuss at your chapter meetings, also with your team at the club?
Well, again, we just had our North Florida section annual meeting, and the number one item that came out of it across the country, Seth talked about it. We talk about it all the time right now, is obviously as employees, whether it be the existing employees you have are being overworked, or you can't find an employee, you can't find assistants, you can't find, there's just numerous areas in the golf business right now where we can't fill positions, or we can fill them, or we just can't find the right people to do so. But that really right now is our largest challenge across the board, is obviously finding the right people to do this job, to do our jobs. Now, if you'd like me to tell you that, when I'm looking for employees, again, Bodo here is going to tell you that he has a great tool for you. And I'm going to tell Bodo, just like I do when I talk to him, is that, yes, it's a tool, but I look at Tag Marshal honestly as an employee. It's another employee of the club, because I can get stuff done without actually having an employee that is doing some of the stuff that we used to do, so they can be doing other things. Yes, they have to I have to have somebody monitoring Tag Marshal, but it's really, we've created Tag Marshal through the last couple of years as really, it's just like one of the employees coming into work.
With a smile, I hope.
Yeah, with a smile. It never talks back.
No, it's
Awesome.
not unionized, works for $5 an hour. It's brilliant.
No. Always happy to be here. It's a happy place.
Absolutely, that's how we like it. So we're going to talk about the technology in just a moment. But you mentioned staff shortages, but obviously that we have to put that in the context of there being a massive influx into golf. Right?
That is the other part of it, is that we have more golfers. Obviously, everybody across the country has more golfers than they ever have had, and we don't. And so much that there's waiting lists. I know across the country on every private club. Again, my high end is semi-private. I still have a waiting list on mine. So, and the number of rounds, the reason I'm seeing that influx is because everybody's out playing and enjoying the game of golf. And sure, COVID, gave it that boost, but the key to that, the fear of that is that we don't want to lose them either. So you have to have avenues so that you don't lose them. We want to keep them here. We don't want them having a bad experience and we start to see golf go backwards. We have to maintain as we've gone up. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, you're very right. And I know memories are short, but if you remember 2015 onwards, there were so many initiatives to try desperately get players to the game, right?
Right.
Now we got them. What are we going to do to keep them, right?
Correct.
So where do you think's going in the next 3, 5, 10 years? Can we retain? Can we attract even more players?
Well, I think again, the only way this goes backwards is if we screw it up. That's just as honest as it can get. We are the ones that the golf courses that can really screw this up. So what are we going to do to make it, stay consistent, continue to get better, optimize the facilities. And I think that's the key to keeping them, to making it I kid around about this, and Bill Filson spoke to it about at our meeting, is that, the golf courses have to be their happy places. They have to be happy when they go. So the experience has to be good. And I do understand that, the face of the golf course, that cart attendant, that member of the cart team starts it, and then they come into the pro shop. But truthfully, if you think about the experience of golf, the golf course obviously has to be in good condition, or in a value of what they paid, at least at the minimum, a value of what they paid. But the experience that they mostly remember, a majority of them remember, starts at that first tee as they move for the next 4 hours. Hopefully it's a little less than 4 hours, but for 4 hours, they're going to be out on your golf course, enjoying their round of golf, hopefully, and that experience is good. And I hope it's great. But to create that experience, there are things that you can do to make it better. And this happens to be, Tag Marshall happens to be one of those things, in my opinion. I have now had it for over 2 years, and I have seen a dramatic difference. And I can get ahead of, where we're going, but
yeah, let me rein you in there. Yeah. You spoke about the experience, and obviously that is key, right? Because if we want to retain the right to host these golfers, and if we want to be the happy place, we have to do a couple of things right.
Correct.
And here's some research that was quite broad-based, done by the USGA, and they looked at exactly that. What are the crucial enjoyment factors for players? What do 20,000 golfers, what do they have to say? And the highest ranking one, you mentioned it, conditioning. 82% said, if the conditioning is great, I'm happy. That's where I want to go. And obviously, this is a key focus at any club, right? I mean, I'm looking at these photos from your courses. I can see how much effort you and your team put into that. Also, how much budget goes into this, right? But very close to this is 74% of players saying, well, do that pace, flow, and time thing well for me as well. And if you think about it, and I think that's what you're saying, is if you're going out there and from your first tee, that's when the customer service starts. That's when the golf experience happens. If the course conditioning is right, and if the flow of play is right, that's value, right? And while this is, would you say that even in this environment now that we have with such a run on the game, that this is valid right now, these percentages?
It's absolutely, well, yes, I think that the pace of play, because of the course conditioning, is always going to be number one, because that starts where your value. Pace of play has got to be number two, just because they're going to enjoy the experience. And the more golfers we have, the more emphasis there is on pace and flow, because we, as golf course owners or operators, you have to have the flow, or it ruins the entire day for everybody, not just the golfer, but the staff gets, screamed at and yelled at, and the reviews stink, and everybody feels it. So you have this is definitely where what we should be looking at.
Yeah, I think maybe also important to differentiate between flow and time, right? So flow, if I play at Erin Hills and it's a 5-hour round and there's no waiting, it's the best time I can possibly have. But if I go to the club down the road and it's a 4:30 round and I'm waiting, or it's a 4-hour round and I'm waiting, and the flow isn't right, well, then you're not looking after me. So the time it takes to play is also a factor, especially with a younger crowd, because guess where they go and hang out? At Topgolf, and that takes 2 hours, right? So you have to keep that in mind too. And you mentioned consistency. So if I go make time for the game, please be consistent. So I know when I'm going to get back, or especially if I have young kids or something, right? So we need to look after that next generation players.
It creates loyalty too. It creates loyalty.
Yeah. To your club, but also to the game, right?
Right.
Because how often do we watch a big golf event on the big screen, and there is obvious slow play happening, and then Twitter completely implodes because everybody, all the regular amateur players, relive that pain of being stuck behind that slow group, right?
That's
right. And then that's why I'm not playing as much golf anymore. It just takes too long, and things like that. So we we can change that. We can, and it's so great how you guys are doing it. We're going to get to that just now.
Okay.
But if you allow me, just one more
Yeah.
item of research that has come out of the USGA. This is Christina Schoonover from the University of Wisconsin, and they were tasked to really dig into that. What does the player experience? What are the factors, and what rises to the top in terms of it delights players, and what drops to the bottom, it absolutely frustrates players. Conditioning rises to the top, but the overall single most positive impact that rated by players is positive ranger etiquette, and that's completely outlandish. Why would anyone rate it like that? But that's because it's so unusual to encounter that for a player, because what they normally find is corrective pace of play action done badly, right? And that they hate. That's a big frustrator. At the same time, other people's speed. So if you don't, if other people in front of me are too slow, like we just said, that's equally as frustrating. So those pace-related items are top and bottom in terms of their ranking, and everything else floats somewhere in the middle. Obviously, there's some important things like conditioning, like we said, but it pays to pay attention to this. You surprised by this at all?
Not really, not one bit. And really, if anybody on this webinar has thought about it, and really the one thing I can say is, if you have Rangers now that are of the old school, and I'm just going to call it military. How about just a military type of mentality of, you have to be here, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to, you're not playing fast enough, and I'm going to move you to, I'm going to move you to the next hole, and you're 10 minutes behind, and the frown on their face and the tone of their voice. That's not what people are here for. Again, I said it in the beginning, it's a happy place. So that the Rangers really that you're hiring or you're bringing in, if you're using them, need to be in that positive atmosphere of talking to people, how to talk to them, how to show them, as I'm sure Bodo's going to move forward here in how I handle our Rangers handle the situations is a lot different than really what happened even here 2 years ago, because that's what we were trained to, what we needed for a Ranger, to get back on the path and do these kinds of things. And that's what they did, or they just did the opposite, and they drove by and gave you you're in great shape, good, never set, their mouth never moved, and they gave you the hand wave, and off they went. And you 4 hours later, you saw them in the parking lot talking to their buddy or whatever it was. So there's a difference there. It's a whole different arena now, in my opinion.
No, you're making a great point. So positive etiquette, I think, is what you guys do really well. But what really helps doing that is to have information, right?
Right.
We can be as friendly as we like. If we don't get things done, then that doesn't help anyone. So, and here you teed me up nicely. What strategies and processes have you put in place to manage the field flow at your club, where you are doing so much traffic? But if you'll allow me, the very same system is in play at very exclusive private clubs, right? Where there's not nearly as much traffic, but they're saying the same thing. We want our experiences to be impeccable. So it pays to give it attention. Let me just jump ahead here. So this is what the system roundabout looks like. Kevin, do you want to quickly talk sort of your interpretation of how things work for you at the clubs?
Okay, well, again, from where we started to where we are now in the 2 years is a little bit different. But to start, the main thing that we went to is, as we came up on slow groups, we now had the technology to not just say you were behind pace of play, or not behind, or the group in front of you had left you 2 holes behind. With this technology, my Rangers can actually in their hand hold and show you where the carts are in front of you, and really have a conversation and say, hey, I'm just asking that you catch up with the carts in front of you. Here they are. You're 2 holes behind. I know you can catch up. I know, it even shows you, it honestly shows you the data, as Bodo will get into later, but I'll just kind of hit on it. It actually gives me the data that I know that it'll even show me a hole that they fell behind on. So the Rangers are able to say, hey, I'm guessing here on the last hole you lost a couple of balls, you started to fall behind there. Can you just catch up with those groups? But it gives you the whole golf course to show them as you have these conversations, and they're just short conversations. And then you add a note, as you can see on your screen right there. That ranger can add that note, so everybody, no matter where they're at, as long as they have this, whether it's on their phone or on the computer in the pro shop, or any other personnel, starter, ranger out there, sees that you've already talked to them also. So it's not you're not having to have that conversation about that. Now, if they fell behind again or never caught up, then sure, we're going to have another conversation. But it gives you that opportunity to do so in a very professional manner that they can understand, and they really can't deny. Before that ranger would say, you're 2 holes, but no, we're not holding up that group behind us. We're not, you're crazy. That's not possible. We don't want to hear from you ever again. Right. That those conversations happened, and it gets them fired up. But this is an easy conversation, and it doesn't make them mad. It really doesn't make them mad. We don't have people coming in our pro shop any longer that are yelling that your ranger is a jerk because he said that to us. It's more appreciative than anything that we have now.
Yeah, I think that positive etiquette and being constructive, and they're two things that they're subtle, but it makes such a difference, right? So what you don't want, and for those of you on the call, if there's one little takeaway, teach your team not to say you're slow to golfers. Like,
no.
It is, you're basically calling them a slow golfer, and they can't compute. They'll always push back at that. So what Kevin has said here instead is tell them, hey guys, you're out of position, and that is a one-off thing. I know that you're not slow. You're out of position right now, and I can give you a target to catch up on. That's something that computes very easily. But how do you know where to be at the right time? So this is where the system helps decipher all this movement on the course. And at Kevin's club, it's a huge property and loads of golf carts. Obviously, we can do this with walkers as well. But our algorithm determines what is the biggest risk at the course right now to the traffic. It's a bit like Google Maps or Waze would do. It tells you where the traffic jam's starting to form, based on what's the trend of the group, how many groups are they holding up already, where are they? Like if a group is falling out of position on hole 5 and they've got a negative trend over the last 2 holes, they're going to wreck your day if you don't go and fix it, right? If somebody's on the 18th hole and now they're falling 2 minutes out of position, they can't do any more damage, they're through, right? And the system understands that and tells Kevin's team very accurately where an issue is, so they don't have to go drive around and find the issues. That's your employee, basically, eye in the sky, and always at the right place, because Tag Marshal sees everything that moves, including your drinks carts and so on. And we haven't mentioned that, but we integrated with 20 or so tee sheets, and obviously Lightspeed that you guys use is one of them. So that helps if it's assigned, you even know who you're talking to, and that's helpful to personalized service.
Right. Bodo, while you're talking on that, could I just say one thing, that it's on the integrated part of that to the tee sheet?
Go.
It also, as it has that name, if that person is, the last time they played you was relatively slow, when they're pulling up the tee sheet, we're able to say, hey, last time you played, you played in 4 hours and 20 minutes, really like you get done in about four hours if you can today, or whatever. If it's an ongoing situation, it has that ability if you needed it. I'm not saying you would do it every time. I'm just saying if it's somebody that's chronic with their pace of play that is going to get out on that golf course and hurt your pace for that day and make somebody else's round experience not good, you have that opportunity right in the pro shop from the pro shop staff.
No, you're 100% right. And obviously at a private club where you now have data, and somebody says, well, I want to play at 8 on a Saturday, and that this person is a bad bet based on information, you say, well, unfortunately the 8 o'clock is not available. Would you consider the 11 o'clock, right? And that's where those private club tee sheets do just the same job. And this is an elegant way to handle this. But ultimately, I mean, you do need to cater for all sorts, and that including beginner golfers, including older, younger folk, really good golfers, and the more information you have, the better you're going to do that. So we're looking at this as basically the outcome of the system. But let me just jump back here for those of you who don't know. So our system gets fed by IoT devices. So these are Internet of Things devices that are installed in the carts, or we've got a GPS screen that is the brightest one in the business, and sort of military accuracy, and that has obviously all the good GPS front-end things. But what they do is they feed our system. Also for walkers, it works really nicely if you've got part walkers or a full walking field like Calusa Pines has, for instance, in Naples, and obviously many of the northern ones. And they feed our system, and then the system, like Kevin said, makes this data available in a live view. And we're going to talk about the data analytics portion in just a few minutes that help in other ways. So there were a few notes that I made when we chatted recently. Kevin, you mentioned that, yeah, this has become part and parcel of how you do things at the club, right? So you mentioned culture. Why don't you explain that a little bit? Because there are a lot of moving parts, and you tied a lot of people into using this information that they now have.
Yeah, obviously when we started, it's change, and that's hard. You know, again, I'm in Florida, so my ages range, you know, from young to old with staff, and you try to bring something else in, and it's change, and it's a little bit more work for them to understand, and really the technology to grasp what you're trying to do, and so getting everybody on board was a little bit difficult in the beginning. But then as we each day, I would, you know, I bring it up every day of how are we doing on the course? What's the pace? I have it on my phone. So don't get me wrong. I know, and this is where it really kickstarted, and Bodo laughs at me, but you know, I'm in Las Vegas taking a group of members to Las Vegas, and I'm making a phone call, 3 hours time change, and saying, what's the problem on 13? We have a hold up there. What is going on? Can you let me know? Is somebody getting out there? You know, and my answer was, how in the world do you know what's going on when you're not even here? Well, this lets me do that. But that began the motion of saying, okay, this is how important it is to Kevin and the ownership at Serenoa and Legacy. And we started to change the culture over these last 2 years. And it's just gotten better and better. Now the ranger, the starter, the cart attendants, the pro shop staff, they all even have it on their phone. When I pull in now and I get out of my car and I'm walking in, if I'm coming from Legacy to Serenoa or Serenoa, we're all green, or we're all, you know, when I say we're all green, that means the golf course is flowing extremely well today. Kevin, we're on a 4-hour and 5-minute pace. We've got 260 people playing today. This is, you know, it's awesome. And that's truthfully, I'm not exaggerating now, the culture change that has happened in the last 2 years, because it's actually made their life easier and more enjoyable, because they also have something that they're a goal every day when they come in. So it's good to have, it's great to have everybody on the same page. And like I said, it's a culture now. It's not just, like I said, it's they are one of the employees. Tag Marshal is an employee.
It's the good old 1 hour of prevention beats 10 hours of cure, right?
Correct.
Another thing that I think is important, just to reiterate, we mentioned that if we get certain things right, that increases the value, right?
Correct.
So what have you seen in terms of the value and the green fees and dues and things that you're able to ask for because you get it right? Like, has that had an impact for you?
It definitely has. Now everybody in the area has, you know, their fees have gone up, but we're able to offer a value, and it creates that loyalty. So it's revenues that can continue. And yes, we can ask more, and we will continue to ask more as we get better and better at everything we do. But the value of somebody walking off the golf course and saying that was a great round of golf. I played in 4 hours, or I played in 4 hours and 5 minutes, and the parking lot's full, and they walk in to tell you that, that value allows you to increase your prices. And you're going to get into some other things that we do with this that's really impacted our financial situation here in a couple minutes.
We will, yeah. Yeah, here's one of the things that you made a note on earlier, that if you don't, and yeah, sometimes you don't get it right, okay, and then players will come in and they'll have things to say to your team. So I know that every single round that goes out gets tracked and has a track map, which is basically history of the round, and it's got waypoints, so you can see where was this player when, and what was their pace situation, did they break any geofences, what were the interactions with our team, where the rangers or the assistants took notes. Everything's logged and recorded, right? So does your team use this? Is that something that that happens, and does it come in useful to you guys?
It definitely comes in useful. And again, I get a report every morning from Tag Marshal, and I'm able to read that and see who was behind, if how many groups were behind, what the notes were. I'm able to go to the rangers and say, okay, we had this problem, but we didn't take care of it soon enough. We may have taken care of it, but it might have been too slow. We need to get to them sooner. How can we get to them sooner? This lets me track that and show them, actually sit with them and go through and say, okay, here's where we missed. And to be able to be hands-on with a ranger, they actually enjoy, I must have been over here. You know how they're going to respond to that. But this allows me to show them that we can see everything that's going on, so they know. And it's a great tool. That is a great tool for me to show my staff to work with.
And accountability, one thing, but also if you have a player, well, and to them it might have felt maybe they had a bad day, that they played 5 hours, but you can tell them it's actually your round was 4 hours and 18, our goal time is 4:12. Maybe it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
So it helps to have that accurate information.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about efficiency and oversight. Management oversight is something that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think we should dig into that, because obviously a lot of data gets collected all the time, because that Tag Marshal employee is really busy for you. So here's what this looks like in the sort of analytics backend, where we can see a whole month, and this happens to be December. I played at Serenoa, and how did every single day play? And then we can dig into this and say, how did the day's tee times play? And we can dig into a single tee time, and we can look at how did this particular round go, right? So it's really a depth of data that you can go and work with, including the whole stats. How did every hole perform? What was the weight? What was any wait times on the tee? How much time was spent in the fairways, on the green? Because as you know, you mentioned we want to get better and better. It's all incremental, right? If we do the little things well, and if we create habits around them, and we track them so we can improve them, that's when the real magic happens. And I just want to congratulate you in that you guys can do so much traffic. I know December not quite as busy as January, February, but
It's
you're coming
busy.
in at 4 hours, right? 4 hours, 31 seconds.
With how many groups?
By chance, it happens by design, and you can see the interactions here that get logged, and this is sort of thing that you look at. Tell us about how you use this,
Okay.
and what you've done with it.
Well, the easiest way for me to explain that is, as you see green there, we used to have 9-minute intervals, okay, 9-minute tee times. And as the years have gone past here, these last couple of years, we were able to see and track that green, whether it turned to green to orange to whatever, how fast were they getting off? How fast were they playing for the total round? And now we've been able to actually take our tee times in that first 2 hours and turn that into 8-minute intervals. So we're actually picking up a tee time, inside that. You would notice how we were doing that. And then I went to 9 in the mid of the day, and then I would go to 10 actually in the later of the day, because that's when the less experienced golfer is going to play. So I'm able to create a tee sheet now that, based on the analytics that I have here, the data that is in front of me over a 2-year span. It's not like I did it. I said, oh, this week was great, and now I'm going to do this. But after a year, it was very easy. I could have done it sooner, but I'm just giving you an example. But I'm able to take all of this and be able to say, okay, now I can get more money. My financials change because I'm going to get another tee time in the peak of it. And then as it goes out, where it's less paying anyway, they're going to enjoy their round more. So I'm creating loyalty through that as well. So there's a couple of different ways that this really lets me dictate what kind of tee times and where my breaks need to be, or where I need to start changing my tee time intervals. And that's really what this is. It's made a big change in that. And I have to tell you, as we're looking at this analytics right now, the reason Bodo was saying that too is because it used to be for us, there was no question. It was a 4:45 to 5 hour round before we started doing this. And now you can see that we are able to manage it in getting into that 4 to 4:15 area, even with just large numbers of golfers. So everybody's enjoying it and getting to have a nice experience.
Yeah, let me just add to this, Kevin. So here's an analysis that our team did for you guys to help you make decisions like this. You mentioned these dynamic goal times, that it's not just one flat goal time, but we're actually looking at how does the course flow and then having more accurate application of it. And obviously the moment your players move faster, you can adjust your intervals down safely, right? And we'll look at the overall results just now as well. But the difference here is that the late day, and that's where you mentioned, is sometimes it went to 5 hours. That's not the average. That's not the average for the day, but those were the crunch times that you guys wanted to work downwards. That's your 11, 12 o'clock time, 5 hours, 12. And with those adjustments that you made, that's improved by 40 minutes, right? So that's exactly what you said earlier. It pays to give this attention because it makes everyone's lives easier. Because what happens at 5 hours is that's when the phone starts to ring, right?
Right.
And now that doesn't happen. So just these adjustments, the mornings improved, and then this has come down by 40 minutes. Obviously, the average is also impacted by this positively, but can you imagine the experience difference in that crunch time of the day? If that comes through at 4:30 pace and improves further versus the 5, that's huge value. Let me just jump back, Kevin, because you made a great point here where if you have a really busy day, sometimes you know that certain holes tend to choke up a bit. I really thought your drinks cart strategies around that were quite smart.
Well, thank you. What we do, again, we're able to monitor this, and as you can see during the day, those colors turn, orange and then red is what they do, and everybody can see that. What we have the ability to do now is we actually know where that's going to happen, and we see it happening. And once it starts to happen, we do send our beverage cart out to that area to hopefully change the whole atmosphere out there and to get it a little happier, shall we say, with a little of that stuff they call beer juice. So it does work for them to be out there, and it just relaxes the whole situation out there, not just because it's beer, but because we're paying attention as well.
So this is the deploy beer angel strategy.
That's right.
We actually had conversations like, should you not have a pace angel? But the problem is, the moment you do that, the guys will play extra slow just to have more interaction. So no.
That's right. That's
Don't do it.
exactly right.
Okay, so what's the effect been on the player experience? Because ultimately, that's what drives your business. The player experience, that's where the value comes in, and then it has a big business impact, like we just mentioned. But what's the effect been on the player experience that you can measure, or that you anecdotally have learned about? And also maybe a question here: how do you remember? Maybe it's bad dreams. You wake up at night, oh, we have 300 players out, I don't know what's going on. How did you use to work before, like before you had tech 5-10 years ago? Maybe talk to that. And yeah, is the player experience ultimately that's your goal? How is that improving?
Okay, well, to answer the first question, you can't compare to how we did it before. Like as I started, every course seemed to be the same. It was just, like I said, the Rangers were they were a body. To say we had a Ranger, sure, you could find some good ones. Not gonna say that there's not good Rangers out there, but it wasn't nearly as effective as what we have been able to change by using analytics, by changing our culture to make that experience better, to create the loyalty that brings them back. Instead of just playing us once, now they're playing us 2 and 3 and 4 times while they're here for that period of time. So you're completely changing even how they speak about, Serenoa or Legacy, the customer. Have you played there lately? Have you seen the changes? Have you, can you believe we played Legacy in 4 hours and 10 minutes in the peak of season? You can't beat that. That's, that word of mouth is, and it's even in the, in a review. So that experience has changed dramatically as far as how we do it. We also have been able to make it so it's easier in the shoulder seasons. We're still playing 200 rounds of golf, so we still have a Ranger. It's Tag Marshal. I don't have to have an employee out there because I have Tag Marshal. That's the screen that everybody sees when they walk in, and they know what's going on, and the staff is well versed in what to do without that actual body out there, because we're able to get to the situations sooner. So there's a number of things that have changed over these last couple of years to make that experience well worth it. And that just increases value. To your point, is that now they're willing to pay. The customer is willing to pay for what they get. There's no doubt about it in my mind, is that if they have value and that experience is right, they will pay for it, which has allowed us to increase our rates as well. So not just to go up with what everybody else is doing in the area or whatever. There's an experience that they're enjoying.
Yeah, you're earning the right to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think another important point is that you can only improve what you can measure, right? And I think it's for the first time you really have such a good handle on anything that moves out there, and it's so easy for you. Yeah, you're saying you get an update email every morning. You know how the teams are doing. You're not there all the time. You're in Vegas or fishing, whatever. You know what's happening on the course, and that's a peace of mind, obviously. And one of the things that we measure is that distribution of pace, because yeah, you've got twosomes out there that are quick, hopefully not too many, because you want to sell the foursomes, but how many of them are 30 minutes faster than goal time, 20, 10 on goal time, 10 minutes slow, 20, 30, 40. And the experience that you're looking to create is as much on time or within 10 minutes as possible. And then this shows that, right? You're bang on target. You can't get it all right. This is an entire month worth, right? Even including your really busy days. But at some clubs that we start to work with, there's a lot of red on this dial. You can just imagine, because they're getting to use to the system, and obviously we need to calibrate and we train them. But within 6 weeks, this often changes so drastically already, just by having that line of sight, that awareness, and making a few decisions around, for instance, which hours of the day to pay real attention to, so it doesn't escalate, and all of those things. And ultimately the goal is player experience. Great. Can we create more room for everyone out there so that they've got a great time, but also can we now safely add capacity? Because yeah, that's the business goal, right? And it's great to see how you have been so successful in doing that. Maybe one of the there might be some questions. Please go and field them, and we'll try and answer as best we can. Yeah, you guys are now going to get the Tag Marshal screens that I mentioned earlier, that so we can extend this information that's available to your team to the players, so the players can then see I'm on pace, I'm starting to delay others, so they can self-manage a bit better. But also there's two-way comms that can happen, and there's a very neat Golf Genius integration, among other things. So I think it's great to see this evolution also from your side, where, yeah, originally you said, oh, we don't really want screens on the cards, but now you're feeling like you can, because you're so well versed with the system and it's become such a big part of your operation.
Yeah, I think that we want now, our staff has accepted that culture. I think now to share that with the customer itself for that culture, that's just another, like you say, evolving. So we're moving in that direction so that they can enjoy it as well. So I think it's a great step. We've just done the tags and now we're moving to the screens. So it's great.
Yeah, there's a couple of clubs that have switched, and yeah, it's another next step in the evolution, right? And like I said earlier, we're here to help improve the game where we can. A great GPS screen doesn't change the game, but what you can do with this, with the data, with the information, and also the strategies that you can employ, like you mentioned, it, dynamic goal times, variable intervals, things like that. That is what we believe changes the game, and that's what we can do. So I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce Joey. I don't know if we'll allow you, and if you can, just say hi quickly. I know you were at the event on Monday. What was it like?
Typical Florida hot. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It was a great event. Got to see Kevin down there a little bit at the meetings on Monday and again on Tuesday, and he played very well. Probably didn't place as high as he wanted to, but I think it was a good time. It was a great course. Kevin will tell you the course was in fantastic condition for the tournament. So a lot of good guys, some folks we had seen before and some new folks. So it was a great event and good to see everybody out.
No, brilliant. Thanks. So Joey is the man with the plan for us in Atlanta. And now there's another friend and a good colleague, my co-founder, John Wilmore. I don't know if you're on, John. I'd love to say.
I am here.
Oh.
Hey guys, John here. Thanks for the introduction, Bodo. Joey, nice hearing from you. Kevin, always good hearing from you. Last I saw you was at the show. You came in, spread the gospel at the PGA show like you usually do, like you always do. Or on your phone managing a golf course from the PGA show, even though it was crazy busy. But yes, proud to be involved with the North Florida section and helping grow the game.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
John.
John.
I'm not seeing any questions just yet.
There's one. There's
Yeah,
one.
there's one question.
It was it's from Clay Thomas, and it just says, have you identified any chronic problems at specific areas on the golf course where you can make changes, permanent or temporarily, to mitigate issues in those areas? And that is there. I'm able to look the data that shows hole by hole, and once you have that data, you can see where there's a chronic issue with pace of play. And we have one specifically at Legacy that we felt might be, but we weren't sure. But once we collected the data, we were able to definitely see how big of an issue it is. And what I've been able to do with that, after seeing all the data and seeing that the time that's causing a problem, and then it speeds up right after, is that I've actually put my ranger starts the day there. He sits right there on that tee box. And as they come up, he just keeps them. It's a constant, he's talking to them. He's showing them that, hey, you're going to be able to, he just as we were talking, he has that handheld in his hand and shows them, hey, we got a little, there's a little bottleneck here today. However, I can show you right here in the next 4 minutes you're going to be just flying. You know, you're going to move around. We just have a situation always on this hole where somebody loses a ball or something happens. It's very consistent. We're well aware. Just want to let you know, and boom, to that, and then they're off and running. And they appreciate that because we care enough to be in the position where it's going to be, and we never hear another word from it. So it's extremely helpful. That handheld, having it in your hand and being able to show people is it's vital. People just are, you know, word of mouth isn't going to do it. It's just like being told, like you said, that you're slow. That's not going to do it. That's not going to make them happy. Where when you can just show and say, hey, they're already, this group ahead of you already went through and now they're on the green and you're teeing it up, you're going to be great today. You know, enjoy the day. So, did you see the next question, Bodo? That one's for you. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm going to hand that over to John.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So Eric says, how does Tag Marshal compare in price to competitors? Well, it's all relative. So we don't just deal with one competitor. We don't just do GPS screens like some competitors. We do deal with walkers as well. But from a GPS screen point of view, I'd say we're actually quite a bit cheaper than our competitors, by as much as anywhere from kind of 20 to 40%. And if you want to quote, just let us know or reach out and we'll do a custom quote for you, obligation free. If you're looking to track a golf cart without a GPS screen, which we can also do, then obviously the cost is quite a bit cheaper as well. So I'd say roughly for a GPS screen, looking at around $30 a screen a month, more or less. But as I said, it's all customizable, so we'll definitely quote you on it.
Maybe if I can add here, so for us, and I think Kevin spoke to this, and obviously we've also learned where can we add the most value operationally. So for us, the goal is always return on investment. So it's not just a cost point of view, but we help you achieve more from a cost savings point of view. Like Kevin mentioned, he's got no marshal costs in the shoulder season. Other clubs, they just get rid of their marshals because they're saying, well, I've got people here that I trust with these interactions, and they can now accurately do it in 1 hour total a day, rather than having somebody out there. Obviously, that's for a club that's not quite as busy as Serenoa, for instance. But the ROI is a big factor. One thing that we've built on our website is an ROI calculator. So if you want to get a costing, just go right there, it'll tell you, but also the ROI opportunity, you can just calculate what can be worth for me. And that's really the game. So it's often material. Like we've had clubs add 20% to their green fees revenue by optimizing with the system. It doesn't happen on day one, right? It takes a bit of effort, but is it worth it for 20% more? Absolutely it is. Okay, does anyone use the golf maintenance department?
Yeah, I was just, I'm glad Kevin just brought this up. Kevin Baker just hit that with, and I wanted to touch, I was just getting ready to ask you if I could touch on the maintenance part of this as well, is that we have this, our maintenance departments, I've talked all about our starters, rangers, but our maintenance has it as well, so that they can see where the traffic is, one, for all of the hot spots. They see where all that goes, but it also shows them if, like at this time of the year, we're going to have gaps, we're going to have openings out there. They're able to track that, see that, and go out and do, they know where to go. Again, one of them is 7 miles around, so getting their staff out to a spot where there's an opening is crucial. To be them being able to not only do work, but not interfere with play either. So it's a double whammy as far as that goes for us. It's a win-win. So to the maintenance, it's again very important for numerous reasons.
Yeah, it's in that space, it's as much about efficiencies and obviously tracking the vehicles as it is with the golfers, right? And and if you overlay the two, that's when you can really get the most out of it. Okay, how are we doing for time, Daniel?
We're good. We have a few minutes. Does anybody else have any more questions for Kevin and Bodo?
Maybe if I can ask Joey, I mean, you're out in Florida a lot, seeing our partners and so on. What are some of the questions that you hear, and what's what's sort of the feedback that you're getting?
Everybody's always curious about, the pace and how does it impact and, what does it do for the golfer? And, the biggest thing that it does is it gives the course the management tool. We have that ability to have the screens, which is what I kind of call the eye candy for the golfer. And you have the two-way capabilities to communicate with them. But we also have the one-way device, which is totally geared towards, the club and the management. So that aspect of it is what a lot of these guys want to see, is how do they get data? And now that they're using data to manage the clubs, they're able to get a lot more and increase the experience for their customers.
We have another question. It says, are you able to send messages to groups on the course that are out of position, or a warning that flashes letting them know that they are falling behind?
Let me actually show you this. So down here is the pace status that automatically updates every couple of seconds for the golfers. So they will be told they're on pace, and if they're falling out of position, it'll tell them, and it'll change color. And the club can set a threshold when it actually takes over the screen. It says, you are now 5 minutes out of position. Please confirm that you've seen this. And then if obviously the player doesn't respond to that, then yes, you can send a two-way message. And if they still don't respond, you can go and have a chat as you need, right? But normally, because it does a little beep and it says, hey, please take note, the players then say, okay, I've seen it. And then they move to get back in position. So that self-management works really well through that. And the nice thing about it is that most players are very mindful, right? As long as they have the information, right? And sometimes, and this is where the line of sight, just using your eyes, can be deceiving. There might be a group that's really quick off the mark, and there's a gap behind them. That doesn't make that next group slow. They might be bang on pace, but because the group in front of them might be twosome, is far away. So that is where this actually helps with giving the players the peace of mind, so they can self-manage and have that awareness as well. So yeah, thanks for the question.
Okay, well, it's almost 2 o'clock. So if anybody has any more questions, I will make sure to include Bodo, Joey, and John's contact information in the email that I will send out after this presentation. But I just want to say thank you so much to Bodo and Kevin for being here today and providing all of our members with this really great presentation. Following this webinar, all attendees will receive an email that includes the link to take the post-webinar quiz, in which you can receive 1 MSR. It will also include their contact information, as well as the link to next month's Learn IQ. If you are watching this webinar on demand, you can email me at dcalderon@pgahq.com for a copy of the quiz. Next month's Learn IQ will feature Mike Mannion of NBC Sports Next. And with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, thank you, Bodo and Kevin. Thank you, Joey, John, and Natalie. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin,
Thanks,
thanks so much. Enjoy your road trip. We're not going to put a tracker on you, all right?
All right. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.